That journey to Anderson University began about 6 years ago in conversations with President Whitaker about the possibility of engineering at AU. And that journey involved several of those conversations to which President Whitaker would noddingly and politely say, yeah, very good, Tony. But eventually we had a real conversation. And the short of that conversation is that we created a Blue Ribbon Task Force to study the possibility of engineering at AU. At that time, we were in the middle of one of the expansion activities of the university. We were building the student center. It was not the appropriate time to start engineering. So that resulted in engineering taking a little back burner until 2020. So for 5 years, it incubated, and then in 2020, we started the College of Engineering. The opportunity to be at a faith institution with a rich liberal arts tradition and to bring engineering into that environment was just very attractive to me, because I hold very dear the concept, the notion that engineers should be equally endowed with the capacity to reason and to think and to engage in debate and nuanced topics, not just present the numbers. First and foremost, we wanted to change the overall trajectory for the graduate engineer. We recognize that graduation with an engineering degree often takes more than 4 years. The graduation rate in 4 years is about 33% nationally. We would like to be able to do better than that. One way to address that would be to reverse or inverse the curriculum, put much more hands-on experiences in the first year. Traditional engineering education ends in a capstone design project where students have studied all the basics, they know all of the fundamentals, and then they go into design and capstone design. We think that it's possible to approach this by persuading students that design is the hook and that they will learn the fundamentals because they're passionate about creating and designing. So we put more hands-on experiences in the first year. The second thing is we said, all right, we will embrace the liberal arts tradition and allow our students to see things with a bit of nuance. So we put into the curriculum things like science, technology, engineering and math, and public policy. How does public policy become informed by knowledge of science and math and technology? We also put entrepreneurism in the curriculum. So those were some of the elements that go into the curriculum that informs what we want the student to do when the student graduates.
Y'all worked closely with local corporations and business and industry here on what they need from engineers as well, is that correct?
Right, that's correct. And so part of that conversation led us to a focus on the major engineering disciplines: electrical engineering, computer engineering, mechanical engineering. Those are the engineering disciplines that are in most demand for our I-85 manufacturing intensive corridor. We see the growth of industry in our region, particularly with regard to manufacturing, and not traditional manufacturing now. It's robotics, it's advanced manufacturing, it's use of smart manufacturing practices. We really want to give our students an opportunity to participate in that growing economy in the region. Anderson University continues to be largely a regionally fed university. That's changing, but most of our students come from the region, and most of our students want to stay in the region. So that gives us the opportunity to put into the curriculum an emphasis, for example, in the mechanical engineering degree is on manufacturing. In the electrical engineering degree, that emphasis is on agility, systems agility. And we also have computer engineering with an emphasis on cyber hardening. We have a cyber security center on the campus, so we're leveraging that asset, working with them to build a more, a different kind of computer engineering program.
And Anderson County has more international development than any other county in the state of South Carolina. There's 51 companies from 18 countries. And I guess the demand, particularly from international companies relocating here for engineers, is pretty high. Am I correct?
That is correct. We now have Electrolux having dedicated its Anderson facility as one of its major research centers for Electrolux worldwide. So the R&D center led by R&D director here in Anderson will be the focal point for that. We have other companies coming to the region. TTI, for example, they have emerged as a very important player in the engineering recruitment space. But all of these companies are companies that have the potential for working with Anderson University cooperatively to help define what they expect of the incoming engineer, as well as participating with us in building this engineering college. So I hold a dual responsibility as founding dean of engineering, but I'm also vice president for industry relations. And so that gives me the opportunity to have these conversations with the members of the C-suite of these companies to talk about what engineering education can do for their next set of employees. We've always had at AU a math and engineering degree. The math and engineering degree is a degree program jointly with Clemson University. Students would spend 3 years at Anderson University, complete most of their mathematics for the math and engineering degree, and then transfer to Clemson. But this year, for the first time, we piloted our program. So we admitted 26 students into this pilot program, very talented, very highly motivated, highly qualified students into this program, and they're off and running. Next fall, we should open full tilt. We are still recruiting faculty because you need engineering faculty to teach engineering. You need approval from SACS to teach engineering, so we are in the process of seeking those program approvals. But we approached it rather cautiously. We wanted to pilot things, see how they worked, look at the resource requirements. You can always design on paper, but when you design to build, it helps to do a prototype. And that's what we've done. We've been prudent in approaching a pilot program so that we understand all of the nuance, all of the difficulties associated with curriculum approvals, just getting curriculum approvals within the university. As you know, we have very rigorous processes for assessing new programs. So we are very proud that we've been able to start a pilot program, but next year we will admit an inaugural class. The county has been most forthcoming in working with us. In fact, the county is the one who loops us into many of the conversations with companies that are moving to the area. Universities play a very important role in the recruitment of companies to a region. They want to know that they can have a source of employees. And so one of the litmus tests for many of those companies is, what is the local university doing? And not just university, but also the two-year colleges. What I really am hopeful for is an engineering graduate who will be entrepreneurial. That is, whether they are within a large company or on their own, taking a view of engineering that is self-directed. That comes from sharpened or heightened communication skills. So we are emphasizing technical communications within the curriculum. A great sense of ethics, which will be fueled by their faith tradition. We also are hoping that our engineers will be innovation-minded. That is, they will see opportunity and reach for them. And we are designing those things in the curriculum. We're not just expecting those things by wishing for them. We are designing those things, those elements into the curriculum. So there is a course on entrepreneurship and innovation. There is a course on sustainability in the curriculum. So students have a better appreciation of what is expected of them. So I started off as a science major, really, with an emphasis on chemistry and analytical chemistry, biochemistry. I was at the University of the West Indies. I studied at the St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and at the Mona campus in Jamaica. Graduated from the Mona campus in Jamaica, but went to the University of Manchester the Institute of Science and Technology and pursued a graduate degree in the chemical engineering department in what is called corrosion science and engineering, and then transitioned from there to MIT to study material science and engineering. I did a brief postdoc and then went to industry, and I spent 15 years in industry before I took my first academic position. That was at Virginia Commonwealth University, which at the time was also starting its School of Engineering. So I was one of the first professors recruited into that program. 10 years later, I was recruited to Clemson University, which brought me to the region. I liked the region. I spent 10 years, almost 10 years at Clemson University, and have lived in Anderson 16 years. There is a universal love of this community with things that you would not expect. A wonderful arts community, a rich, vibrant arts community in the Arts Center, GAMAC. We have wonderful resources. We are situated conveniently between the mountains and the beaches. You know, one of the challenges students face with an engineering curriculum is it's demanding. It's demanding of a different way, a different approach to study. You have to spend time on task. There's not much room for picking it up as you go. You have to engage with subject. You got to do your problem sets. You got to spend time with your homework. You got to be present, ever present in class. And the first year is the most challenging. So we are putting into place peer mentoring support. We want to put in place a number of mentoring programs that would allow students to navigate that first year successfully. Anderson University has a great reputation and in fact has received lots of accolades for its first year program. And you will see that the most recent US News and World Report has been very kind to Anderson University. We want to be a place of hospitality for our students. This has to be a place where students feel welcome, they feel valued and privileged, and with that comes some responsibility. So that's a tradition of AU. We want to keep that vibrancy going in engineering, even though we know that in engineering, which is very intense and not a lot of opportunity for social distractions, but we will find those in other creative outlets.